Hey guys, it's Dustin. So, I'm making a video on two of the possibly more well-known Creed Aventus clones. And that is probably the number one, Club D Nuit Intense Man. This is the EDT version. And the next one by Afnan, Supremacy Silver. Let's get into it. So, for starters, my first Aventus clone was the Club D Nuit Intense Man. I love this scent. A lot of people say it's a bit harsh on the opening, kind of like a lemon cleaner type of vibe. I do kind of get what they're picking up, but that tends to go away within 15-20 seconds for me. And so, what I get different in these two. So, well, first off, this is an EDT. It does come in an EDP version, but you're going to be paying $20-30 more a bottle easily. And there's a limited edition version that's in that $60 range. And for me, I've never warranted needing to get that. For me, I get in the 6 to 8 hour range with this, more towards a 7 or 8. And that's spraying it on clothes. And for this guy, this is in the same price range. And here's where it differs. For me, this is an EDP. And you can get this in that low 20s to upper 20s range. 100 ml bottle. Presentation is beautiful. And you're getting in an EDP. Whereas the Club D Nuit Intense Man original version is an EDT. That's one of the main differences I pick up on. And then second, a lot of people liken this to older batches of Creed Aventus, or it comes off a little bit more smoky. I do get that vibe. I haven't had experience with older Aventus or any newer Aventus, but this one definitely comes across as smoky up front, kind of smoky, a lot of birch, a little bit of citrus, and kind of mossy up front. And that pineapple is what gives it the sweetness, in my opinion. And this one is smoky, but it's not nearly as smoky. I tend to pick up the pineapple comes through a little bit more on this. The birch and everything else is there, but I find it's not as the main player, so to speak. It sits a little bit more in the background, but you do notice it. And I find on the dry down, this does come across a little bit more birch and kind of smoky and mossy. Whereas the Club D Nuit Intense Man, you do get the pineapple, you do get the moss, you do get the birch, all of that. To me, I find it kind of, upon initial spray, that kind of carries through all the way to dry down for me. Now, for me, longevity. To me, I get about the same. I think I get, for me personally, I get a little bit more longevity out of this guy than I do the Intense Man. Right in that 8 to 9 hour range on clothes. But what I find is in the projection, I find this one is pretty strong in projection for at least 3 or 4 hours, easily, without it becoming a skin scent, really. It still kind of hovers around you well into that 6, 7, 8 hour mark on me. Whereas at that time with this, I find it becomes more of a skin scent right around that 5 hour mark. but if you put your nose up to it, you still smell it. Now here's where I think they kind of differ a little bit, is in versatility. They're very similar in how they perform, but I find that if you want something that's gonna, I think they could be all year round scent or signature scent easily. But I find with this, I believe this one is gonna perform a little bit better in the cold, be a little bit more pronounced. But in the summer, I could see this definitely getting a little clawing, especially on the super high heat days. I could see this one getting a little overwhelming. Whereas with this, I find because of the fruity aspects to it being a little bit more pronounced, in my opinion, this could be worn much easier in the summer and spring, even on hot days. But I would say go a little bit lighter on the sprays for either one of them. And so for me, I find if you're looking for a good Creed Aventus clone, you couldn't go wrong with either one of them. There are subtle differences that I pick up on between the two, like the Silver Supremacy being a little bit more pineapple forward over the Club de Nuit Intense Man, being a little bit more well-rounded. But personally, I'm happy to have both of them. They both serve their purposes, and you couldn't go wrong with either one of them. And so, I'm always going to have a love for this guy. I'm always going to have a love for it because it was, I believe, my second bottle I bought just getting into this fragrance collecting journey. The first one being Azaro Sport. And I blind bought it on Amazon for like $37. And I love this fragrance. I'm always going to have a bottle of it. This one, I'm always going to have a bottle of this too. I find that this scent profile just works well for me. It performs, it does what it should, and this is coming from somebody who has dry skin. And usually people with dry skin, they don't get the performance or longevity out of their fragrances as, say, somebody who has well-moistured skin or oily skin. And so are they both going to be like a 1-to-1 on Creed? I don't know. I've never had my nose on Creed, but I do hear stories about people wearing either one of these, walking by and getting compliments, and they're saying, "Are you wearing Creed Aventus?" So I think it's kind of based on who you're around. To the untrained nose, is somebody going to tell that you're wearing Creed Aventus or a clone? I doubt it. But to somebody who's in the fragrance community, has experience with fragrance, and really can pick up on those subtle differences, I'm sure they'll be able to tell the difference. But that's the thing, is for fragrances, guys, I find that if we find a fragrance that we like, that works well for us, are we trying to wear it to impress others, or are we trying to do it because it makes us feel good? We feel nice when we wear these fragrances. We feel confident when we wear these. That should be where our main decision point is on whether we like the fragrance because it works for us. It's just something we like. And so I think you guys would be safe picking either one of these. And personally, I do love this Silver Supremacy. I do. But Club de Nuit Intense Man's always going to have a place in my heart. Because of the nostalgia factor. When I first bought it, I was like, whoa. I just did one spray on my wrist and I was like, I love this. And it really blew me away how much I like that scent. And same goes for this. I mean, I'm always going to make sure I have both of them in my lineup, no matter what. So I hope this kind of opens your eyes to kind of the clone market and what's out there, because there's so many different clones out there. I mean, the Sauvage clones, the Pegasus clones, Dior home clones and stuff like that. There's so many out there, but the main thing is, if you want to get a fragrance that's you're gonna smell good and you're gonna pay a good price for it, then it should not matter what people think on why didn't you just save your money up to buy Dior Sauvage or whatever. It's your choice. And right now I can't warrant spending crazy money on fragrances. But if I can get something that smells good, lasts a good amount of time, and performs, then I personally feel there's no need for me to spend that amount of money on a fragrance. So hopefully this gives you guys some insight. Talk to you later.